What's up, everyone? Steven here from Techmaker.tv. In this episode, we're going to build a chat server in Ruby. This is going to be kicking off a little bit longer group of episodes that are going to turn out with a desktop chat application of some kind written purely in Ruby. So that's kind of what I'm aiming at. But let me show you how it works really quick. So I've got a server running in another terminal window. And we can kick this off by saying telnet localhost 2000, and then I can put a username over on the left side of the screen, and then I can say the same thing on the right. So telnet localhost 2000, and then we'll say Jimbob, and then you can see that we're going to have some interactions here. So we'll say hello. On the left side we see hello from Jimbob. If I type on this side, we'll see hi Jimbob from Steven on the right side. So essentially this is how this works. If I exit over here, you can see that I left the room and so on and so forth. So it's a pretty functional chat application, just straight up in your terminal. We're going to build this out essentially from scratch, and the starting point that we're going to work off of is very inspired by a book called The Well-Grounded Rubyist, which I will link to down in the description. It's a really great book if you want to understand very deeply what's going on in Ruby, and it's a great place to kind of level up and become an expert. So highly recommend that. We're going to depart from the example in the book pretty quickly and make this a pretty full-fledged chat application. So with all of that said, if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. It helps me know what kind of content that you want more of. It probably also helps the YouTube algorithm. And also subscribe to the channel if you haven't. So let's go ahead and get started. So let's go ahead and create a file inside of our chat server directory here, and you can put this anywhere you want. Just keep track of which directory you're in, and I'm going to call this just chatserver.rb. And the first thing I need to do in here is require socket, which essentially just lets us talk to ports with various protocols on our computer. And again, I'm going to kind of follow along with an example from this book, and then we will quickly migrate away from that. But let's go ahead and just kind of write out the kind of starting point. So I want to create a new server, and I'm going to pull a object out of the socket library called TCPServer. And this we can give a port number to, so we can just say like 2000. And then what we can do is just say something like while true. We want to listen for people who try to connect to the server. So we can say something like connection equals server.accept. And then all we want to do is actually, once you have a connection established, you can actually broadcast information to it and receive information back. So we can do something like connection.print, and then we will just say like, what's your name? Something like that. And then we need to get the reaction from whoever the user is back. So we can do something like name equals connection.gets.chomp. And we'll kind of take this step by step in just a minute. And then what we can do is just, well, actually, let's just print out welcome to this person. So this is basically where we're going to end. So we'll say connection.puts welcome name. So let's give this a shot. Actually, we need to do one more thing. We need to say connection.close right here. Okay, so let's run this and see what happens. So I'm going to pop over to my terminal here, which I'm going to zoom in a little bit and clear this out. So what I can do is just say ruby chat server.rb, and it's really not going to tell us anything because we haven't programmed it to tell us anything, and we'll deal with that in a second. But we know that it's running on port 2000. So if I open up a new tab and I say telnet localhost and then give it a port 2000, it's going to say connected to localhost and give me a little bit Telnet related info, and then it's going to run the program. So it's going to say, what's your name? I can say Steven, and then welcome Steven, connection closed. So you may have to actually install Telnet depending on what system you're running. And honestly, I'm not that familiar with Windows, so on Mac, I think you can brew install Telnet or something like that. But whatever system you're on, just Google how to install that or a similar program or something. But I'll have to leave that to you. So basically, our system is working so far. So let's go back to our code really quick and have a look at a couple of things. So first of all, this gets. Gets is a, let me actually just do a quick demo here. Let me comment all that out and just say print what's up, and then say gets, and we'll set this to a variable and say answer equals gets. So, and then we'll put answer. So essentially what the gets stand for is GetString, and so it's kind of a command line tool. So what you can do is just, we can run this again, not this, let's go over here and stop and clear. And then if I run this again, it's going to say what's up, and if I say nothing, it's just going to print out nothing. So essentially gets, it stands for GetString, and it pauses the operation and asks the user for an answer, essentially. So it's a way to sort of create a UI in the command line or something like that. I'm sure I'm explaining that in not a completely technically correct way, but hopefully that kind of helps you know what that does. Okay, so let's go back over here and get going again. So I want to do one more small detour because I want you to understand what's going on with this connection object as we use it. So let's jump over to my browser. So this is the documentation for the TCP server, and so you know we call the server.accept right here, and so we can look at this accept method and look at what it returns. So accept returns a TCP socket object. So let's go look at what is a TCP socket. So actually, really quick, what we could do here, instead of connection, we could call this socket. And that is technically, or we could even call it TCP socket, just to remind ourselves what the heck this thing actually is. So we get a TCP socket, but what is a TCP socket? So I always like to go to the documentation and look at what methods there are, and really there's not a lot of methods on this. But we can look at the parent, which is IP socket, and then that has a few methods, and then we can look at the parent, which is basic socket. That has even more methods. But so far, there's nothing that we're actually using in here. So we have to go all the way back up to I/O, basically. So let me, I don't know why I can't click on I/O right here. Let me go to a new tab and do Ruby I/O. So we have this I/O class. So if you look in here, you have all of our methods we're using for gets, we have puts, we have print. So this is actually what allows us to run these programs normally just in the terminal, like when we ran a program directly and you have this interaction between whoever's in the terminal and our application. So that's I/O, that's basically powering that. I don't want to get too deep into that. But so I wanted to show you that behind the scenes, and I didn't mean to put TCP name here, that doesn't make any sense. So behind the scenes, our TCP socket is actually a child of I/O. So that's why we're allowed to do TCP socket print, and this should be TCP. I messed that up. Okay, there we go. So then we can do TCP gets and so on and so forth. So each one of these sockets is basically an I/O device, if you can call it that, or something like that. So that will come up later, but hopefully that gives you at least an area where you can know where to go research if you don't understand something. Okay, I'm going to have to pick the pace up just a little bit if I have any prayer of getting through this. So what I want to do is actually, once I connect or start running my server, I want to go ahead and just like make some like messages that say like server running on port 2000. Something like that. So that we at least know. We'll add more detail to this in just a little bit. Okay, so let's go run this. And so now it says server running on port 2000. Now if I run my telnet host localhost 2000, we'll get this what's your name. So let's try to open a new tab and do that again. So we'll do telnet localhost 2000. So let's see what happens if well, first of all, you can see here that nothing happened after it ran the connection. So I'm not getting the what's your name. And the reason for that is this guy is currently hogging the connection because our server, as it's engineered right now, can only have one connection. So why is that? So what happens is right here when we do gets, it's sitting here and waiting on this first person to answer, and it's stuck. And so nobody else can use this server right now. So let's just see what happens if I run this. So now that connection closed, and now this one has what's your name. And so now I can answer. So you can kind of see there what we need is to be able to do this in parallel. So what we're going to do is kick off a new thread for each one of these sockets. So basically what I'm going to do is right after we set up the socket, I'm going to say thread.new, and then we'll pass in our socket, and then I'm going to say do socket. And then we'll actually kick all of this stuff up into the thread. And so we need to change all of these to say socket instead of TCP socket. Okay, so let's give this a try now. So I'm going to need to stop my server over here, hitting Control C. We'll run it again, and then let's try to connect again. So just same thing, ping localhost 2000, so it's asking what's your name. Now remember, last time it didn't ask me my name until the other person entered theirs, so now we can see that both get the question. So I can just pass in a name, and you'll see that it works for both. So now we have this running in parallel, which is good. Okay, so what do we want to do now? Well, what I want to start to do is refactor this into more of an application instead of just kind of this procedural code that's set up here. So to kick that off, what I'm going to do is create a new class called member. And so what we're going to do is we're going to have members of our chat room, and so we need a member object, and I'm also going to have a members collection object that's going to manage a few things. And then we're actually going to have a chat server object. So I'm just going to start kind of refactoring in that direction here, and we'll kind of see where we end up. So I'm going to create a class of member, and the member is going to get a couple of things. So I'm going to give the member a username, and I'm going to give them a socket. And so we'll say at username equals username, at socket equals socket, and we will split this up into some other files momentarily, but for now I'm just going to kind of keep it all right here. So we'll say add a reader, username, and socket. And then what I want to do is, instead of saying what's your name, I'm going to say enter a username, and then, and maybe that should say, well, yeah, that's fine. And then we'll say username equals that. And then what I want to do is just say member equals member.new username, and I'm going to give it the socket. And then instead of doing this puts right here, I'm going to say member.welcome. And then down here, I'm going to create a new method called welcome, and just paste that in. And we'll save that. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is go ahead and write a new class called members. And right here, I'm going to say, so I'm going to initialize this without any arguments, and I'm just going to say at members equals an empty array. I'm going to include enumerable, and then I'm going to define an each method, and then I'm just going to say at members.each, and then we'll say member yield member. Okay, and so what this is going to allow me to do is create a members initialize a members object, and then do things like count and all the sort of stuff you can do on arrays with my members. So here's what I want to do. I'm going to create a method called add, and then pass in a member, and then we'll just say at members and add the member, and then I'm also going to add a remove member, and then we'll say at members dot delete member. Okay, so we're kind of adding a bunch of stuff here, and what I want to do is actually say welcome from members, and then say welcome name, there are members.count people here. Okay, so let's check this out. So now what do we need to do? We need to say up here at the top in, I guess up here, we actually need to say members equals members.new. And then right here, what we want to do is say member is new, whatever, and we'll say members.add member, and then we'll say member.welcome from members. And actually I'm going to put that first, so we'll welcome the member from members first, and then we'll add them like this, right? So let's give this a try. So if I just go over to my server and stop it again with Control C and start it back, uninitialized constant members name error. Members is member.new. Probably need to actually, I'm going to go ahead and just put these in their own files. So I'm going to do members.rb and member.rb, and I'm just going to go ahead and cut all of this. And then in our chat server, I'm going to require socket, and I'm going to require members, and then I'm going to require member, like that. Alright, now let's try this again. So now we're listening on port 2000, and I'll run Telnet, and nothing happens. Nothing happens. Did you mean username? Okay, undefined local variable username. So let's go check that out. I have a double in. Where did I do that? Right there. Okay, let me try that one more time. Let's just reboot all this stuff. So now everybody should have been disconnected automatically. 2000. See, I got another error. Undefined local variable name. Alright, so this is not going great so far. Welcome username. Okay, cool. Now I need to do it one more time, and hopefully we get somewhere. So there are 0 people here, and over here we can do the same thing. There are 1 people here. So the reason that that's incrementing is because we essentially have a global variable. So I can do this again, and now it's going to keep counting up. So we're going to keep pushing on this and make it so that whenever we close the connection or whatever, we remove people. But we need to kind of add in more of our chat functionality here, because this is going to be a little bit boring if we don't. Alright, so let's jump back into the code. So what I want to do first of all is comment out this socket.close line. So what's happening is whenever a person gives us their name, we welcome them and whatever, and then we're closing out of it, and I want to kind of keep that alive for a minute. And I want to implement a method over here on members called broadcast. So if we're going to have a chat application, that means that we need two things. We need a way for members or users to submit messages, and we need a way to broadcast those messages to everybody else. So I'm going to start with the broadcast method here, and we're going to say that this has a message and it has a sender. So what I want to do is say, okay, I don't want to send the message to the sender because they just sent it, right? So I'm going to say receivers equals members, let's call it at members minus sender. And let's see here. So that's going to work, I believe. And then what I want to do is basically say receivers.each do receiver, and we'll just say receiver dot puts let's say username. Well, let's kind of do a little indentation here and something like that, and then say username and then colon message like that. And then we just need to end that, and I think that should be good. So then back over in our chat server, what I want to do is basically say, I guess we can do members.broadcast, and we can do something where we say like the message we want to do is maybe joined or something like this, and then the sender should be the member. That's kind of strange, but we'll worry about it later. Okay, so let's go back over to our server. Let's clear this up and restart it. And now let's try to join over here. So my username will be Steven, and then welcome Steven. There are 0 people here. If I go to a new tab, clear again, we'll run Telnet, and I'll type in maybe Jim Bob. And says, welcome Jim Bob, there are 1 people here. So let's see what happened. So nothing. So what's going on here? Let's come back over and look at our broadcast method. So receiver.puts, let's check our terminal. I think I did one thing kind of screwy. Undefined variable username for members. Okay, so I messed this up. That's my fault. So what I need to do is say receiver.socket.puts, and then I need to say receiver.username and then receiver.message. So let's try that. That's my bad. Alright, so let's run through the whole thing again. So one more time. Probably more than one more time, realistically, but let's give it a shot. So the chat server will run Telnet, Steven, Telnet, Bob, 1 people here. And I'm still getting a problem. Undefined method message. Yeah, I'm totally screwing this up right now. So there's no message on receiver. Sorry, I'm kind of just trying to run through this, and going fast is not helping. So receiver.socket.puts, that makes sense. We have receiver.username. Actually, that's wrong. I need to say sender.username. And then message. Okay, so this makes sense. Sorry about that. I'm just kind of confusing myself. So what we're doing, we're looping through all the people who are supposed to receive the message. Each one of these are member objects that have a socket that we can talk to. And we're going to put onto the socket, and we're going to give them the name of the sender and then the message that was sent, and we have those 2 things being passed in as arguments. So let's try this one more time. Okay, so far so good. And so now we see here that we get a message from Jim Bob that he joined. So that's kind of cool. So the next thing that we need is to actually be able to chat, right? So let's add that capability. So in order to do that, what we actually need to do is inside of here, once we set up the member, what we need to add is this. We need to, first of all, we need to do a begin rescue. and we're going to rescue an EOF error. And so what happens is, let's talk through this a little bit. So what we're going to do is just sit here and listen to this particular user and wait on them to say something. So I'm just going to say loop do, and then I'm going to go message equals, well, what will it be? Socket dot readline. And so readline, if you disconnect from the socket, it throws this EOF error. So basically what we can do is say, we'll wait on them to say something, message with this socket.readline. Once they say something, we'll broadcast the message should be, let's see, what do we want to do? We want to say how do we define broadcast over here? So we're handling all of that, the formatting over there, so we can just say message and then member. Down here in our rescue, so this is when somebody leaves. What we're going to do is say socket.close, so we won't need this commented out thing anymore. Sorry, I'm having kind of a problem with my voice, so that's bugging you. I apologize. So what we can do is close the socket, and then we'll say members.remove member, and then we'll do a broadcast here, and I'm gonna say let's say something like left, and then we'll say the member. So let's go give this a try. So this is quite a lot of new code here, and we're gonna refactor this in just a second. So let's go run this and see what happens, because you know how things have been going for me so far today, so hopefully we don't have as many errors this time. So we'll kick off the server. I'm going to clear these again. Telnet, my name is Steven, welcome Steven. Jim Bob again, okay. Okay, then we get a Jim Bob joined. So there's no prompt or anything like that, but it should be sitting here listening to me. So if I say hello, let's see what happens over here. So I get an undefined method broadcast for main object. So let's look at that really fast. I think it's because I didn't call this on members. That's the problem here. So we'll say members.broadcast like that. Okay, so let's restart, do it one more time. It's kind of obnoxious to keep doing this over and over again, but hopefully it's not bugging you too bad. Okay, so everything's good so far. Hello. See what happened on the server. No errors. So then over here, now we have Steven saying hello. And if I say hi, now we have Jim Bob saying hi. So now we have a real chat, actually. So the last thing that we need to do to see how this is working is actually exit out of one of these. And to do that, you can see up here we have this escape character with Telnet is telling you this. So this is control and then the right square bracket. And then once you're in here, you can type quit. And so that connection is closed. So let's check what the other one says. So it says Steven left. So that's cool. If I run Telnet again and put Steven again, now Steven has joined over here. And it's still working. So this is great. Let's go ahead and go back into the code and start reorganizing a few things. So what I would like to do is push a lot of this out of this chat server file and into the members. So like this whole thing right here, really all of this, I want to try to essentially get into the members class. So let's see how we can do that. So what I'm wanting this to look like in the end, I often like to write code kind of like what would I love this to look like, and then I just kind of try to aim for that. So what I want this to say is while true, and then I want to get this right. I want all of this, and what I would like to say here is members.register and then pass in the socket, and then we'll need this rescue. In actual fact, this should say begin, and then we'll rescue. And then what I would like to say is, in the rescue, I want to say members.disconnect or something like that. Something like that. Maybe this should say member equals, and then we'll say members.disconnect member. And again, I'm kind of just making this up. So I'm thinking about what I would like the code to look like. So this is what I would like to have. So let's see how we can do that. So let's call this our refactor target, and I'm just going to comment this out. So first off, in order for me to get anywhere close to this, I've got to get this stuff all down inside the begin, which shouldn't hurt anything actually. And let's actually see what would be involved in. So now this is all sort of one unit right here that I could just cut. So I could cut this and say member equals members.register, and then pass in this socket. And then over on members, I could define a method called register. And let's just paste. So, and then the register over here, it definitely needs that socket. So we'll say register socket. Now, username is socket, gets, so on and so forth. We're creating a new member welcome from members. So now members is actually self. And then we don't need members dot here. We can just add. We also don't need members there, and we don't need members here. Okay, so that is still not my favorite looking code, but this is now cleaned up a little bit more. And then so what we need to actually do at the bottom here, this actually doesn't quite work because we're not able to return the member. So that's kind of weird. Actually, what I need to do is split this into two things. So I'm not going to hit my target exactly. What I need to do is say, what do I want to do? Maybe I can do, not here, sorry. So what I need to do is write a method like listen to member or something like that. Or start, how about start listening to member. And then what we can do is grab this, and so the socket, remember, we can pull off of the member now, so we don't actually need to pass in that socket anymore. So then what we need to do here is return the member. So this allows us to do a couple of things. So now we can set a member equal to members.register because we're actually returning a member. And then we can say members.start listening to member. And that should work. And this gives us a member object that we can reference down here. So then what we can do is say, well, now our members.disconnect makes sense, so we can write this disconnect method here, disconnect member, and then I'm going to copy this, or just cut it, and again we need to do member.socket.close, members.removeMember, and then members.broadcast, and actually, I'm going to do the broadcast first while the member is still here, because otherwise, well, I don't know that that really matters. But then what we can do is say members.disconnect member. So that's not far off of what I was thinking. I just didn't quite picture how to get the member out of that register quite right. So let's go ahead and trim that up. So this looks a lot better. Let's see if it works. Actually, one more quick change before I do that. I don't need those things together inside this begin anymore. and I actually prefer to have the start listening to be the only thing in there. Alright, so let's go over to the terminal and let's run Ruby again. Oh, that's not what I want to do. What's the name of this thing? So we'll do Ruby chat server, and then we'll do our telnet, and we'll do Steven, and let's do Anna. So here we have Anna joined. So the messaging is all still working, and we can exit, and let's see what that does. So I did not get I have an undefined local variable or method members in disconnect. Okay, so that's a small thing. We'll just fix that really quick, and that's just because we don't need that and we don't need that. So we'll leave those. I'm just going to assume that works because I'm pretty confident that it will. We'll try all of this again in just a couple of seconds. So let's go ahead and stop this, and let's see what else we want to do here. Alright, so I think I'm going to start with this register method and kind of just start splitting this up into some smaller methods. So I'm going to write some private methods down here. And so I'm just going to write one get member info, and it's going to take a socket, and what I want to do is just cut this. Nope, I don't know what I did there. Paste this here, and then we'll just say username equals get member info socket. Then we're going to set up our new member. Then we're going to call member welcome from, add the member, broadcast that they joined. I think that's pretty much all there is to that. So let's see. One thing I want to do is add a prompt to the user to say basically, hey, type here. So I'm going to write this like this. I'm going to say, basically I just want to say member.prompt. And then over in member, I'm going to write a method prompt. And we're just going to say socket.print. And we should say something like kind of the same sort of format with the arrow sort of thing, and then maybe some parentheses to say type here, like that. Okay, and so what this is going to do is basically you joined, and it's going to say, hey, type here. And maybe this needs a new line. I'm not sure. Let's say that needs a new line. Let's just assume that it does because we want to put it on its own line. Let's see what that looks like. We can play with that. The other thing that we need to do is whenever we broadcast, so if you think about what just happened, the person who typed the message, they hit enter and nothing's really going to happen on their terminal. So what we want them to actually have happen is also to be prompted again for a new message. So you'll see what I mean in a second. So say sender.prompt. And let's see if there's any other stuff that I want to try to clean up here. One thing we could do is take this and say member.listen. I'm not a big fan of having like, it's sort of, if you go back and check out the law of Demeter video, following the law of Demeter basically means just use one dot. So we can say listen, and then we can just say socket.readline. So we can go through here and kind of do that. We could do the same thing here, but that's kind of unnecessary probably. Disconnect, we could actually write a method called disconnect, and then say socket.close, and then we say right here, we'll just say member.disconnect. So let's check that out, and let's just double check everything. I don't see any problems, so let's try this. This might be the end. I'm not sure. It's kind of become a long video, so that's okay. So Telnet, and Stephen, and I get type here twice. Okay, so that's weird. And then we'll use Anna again, type here twice. Hello. And so you see that. So actually, okay, I did something kind of wrong. So I need to basically say type here under Anna's hello message on this side. And also the message from Anna needs to be on a new line where she joined. So we need to put that on a new line. And so I got a few problems. I need to prompt again under here. I need to put the joined message on a new line, and we're getting type here twice. So let's go look at what could be causing those things. So let's see. So register is prompting and saying, so we have one prompt here. What is causing, So we can solve a couple of our problems here by just saying, okay, first of all, let's put a new line right there. Okay, so what this is going to do is put us on a new line, print this out, and puts has a return at the end, so it'll automatically put another new line at the end, basically. And then what we can do is actually say receiver.prompt here. So that solves part of our problem. Let's look at the member.prompt method. So we're getting a new line automatically right here. So that's making me think we should do a print right here. So we should print with our new line at the front. So maybe we just use print all the time to not confuse ourselves. Okay, I still want to know, I don't quite know yet why I'm getting prompted twice. So what's the workflow here? So on register, we welcome, add member. Let's see, welcome. It's gonna, okay, so I probably don't need to prompt because the welcome is going to trigger a broadcast, maybe? Is that mistaken? Let's see, member socket.puts, no. So that's not the problem. Okay, I see what's happening. So basically what we're doing here when we call broadcast joined from the member, so the sender is this new member, and so we're prompting them. Now this is a side effect. It's kind of a strange way to do this. I would almost like to be more declarative about it, but I think I'm going to just remove this prompt right here on register and let the broadcast handle it. Maybe that's actually better. So let's save all this and let's go try this out again. So I'm going to clear everything again and restart up all this stuff. So Stephen, and we get type here, so that's good. Let's clear this again, and Anna is the same. So I'm going to add a space after type here so that it starts off a little bit spaced out. And I don't want all the extra lines, so I got Anna joined, type here, Anna hello, type here. Okay, and so now it's functioning more like a chat now. I don't know that it's a good idea to always have these type here things. So let's just, I'm kind of going to obsess about this a little bit and clean this up as much as I can. So what I want actually here is just to have this be an arrow like this. Instead of puts here, since we're printing and everywhere else with a new line at the very beginning, I'm going to switch to print. Over here, do we have puts anywhere still? No. So we're just putting new lines at the beginning of everything, right? So I don't know why I was getting some of those extra new lines. So welcome from, so we don't have any sort of new line there, but that's because the prompt is going to take care of that. Okay, I think this is pretty good. I'm going to try the whole thing one more time, and we're going to call it a day. I'm going to add a significant amount of material on the back of this. I'm going to turn this into a real app with like a Ruby based like GUI user interface. So this should be pretty interesting if you want to try some little bit different projects than pure Ruby. Welcome, Steven. There are 0 people here. Okay, this is looking pretty cool. Okay, so I don't know why I'm getting that extra. I don't know why I'm getting all the extra spaces. So Anna got, when I broadcast from, so there's something going on there when I submit a message. So I'm going to take a quick look at that, but otherwise this is, I don't know why I just typed my own name. Okay, so then let's just check our, so it's not reporting that I left still. So it took me a little while to figure this out. I think this is the problem. We're disconnecting the member and then trying to broadcast a message from that member. And that's going to cause us a problem, I think. So, because right here we are trying to prompt and all this kind of stuff, so we're trying to talk to the socket and it doesn't exist. So I'm just going to bump the broadcast up. And it's possible that we want to split out the prompt from that broadcast method actually, but let's try this out. Let's see if I can get everything back to where it was. Okay, so start up the server. Let's clear this, try it again, and then clear this and try it one more time. And then we will go ahead and quit out. And so I didn't get an error and it says Anna left. Okay, so that's basically exactly what I expected to happen. Alright, so the last thing I want to do is just clean up these extra spaces that are flying around on here. So let's go and let's fix that really quick. So essentially I'm going to try to just skip past working it out in front of you and just kind of show you what I think the solution is. We'll see where we get to with this. But so one thing I forgot to do is .chomp right here. So whenever somebody hits enter on the keyboard, that registers as a new line, and we want to get rid of that. At least that's what I think is happening. I'm also going to create a new method here called newline prompt. And this is kind of going to be a little code duplication here, but I'm going to live with it for the moment. So my regular prompt is not going to have a new line, and my new line prompt is obviously going to have a new line. So when do we want to have a new line prompt? So the sender here should not have a new line prompt, and the receiver should have a new line prompt. And let's just check back in the terminal. So right here, once we welcome the person, are we giving that person a new line prompt? I think not, actually. So, so we could actually just print a new line here. Because what's going to happen, and again, I think that I might need to sort of disentangle the prompting from the broadcasting potentially. But let's run this like this and just see what happens. I think this should be close. Okay, then I'm going to clear these and kind of start up here again. So Steven. So no, I didn't manage to get a new line on welcome. So I'm not even going to keep going. I'm going to go ahead and see if I can get this to work. So let's see, actually, you know what I'm going to do? I am going to get rid of prompt right here. I'm going to broadcast, or I'm going to welcome Well, let's do this. Let's put in welcome. Let's go ahead and put a new line here, and then, or we could even do socket dot new line prompt right here, right? Okay, so now the welcome actually handles the prompting, which kind of makes sense in that case. And then when we broadcast, let's see, so we're going to be broadcasting from the member here. So right here we could do member.prompt, and then the receivers are going to get the new line prompts. So let's try it like this. I'm not going to drag this out too much longer. Okay, so I actually have an error. Undefined method new line prompt for socket on, where is that? Members line 31. Okay, member.welcome from self. Oh, I don't need to socket.newLine prompt. I just need to new line prompt. Okay, let me try that one more time. Okay, so now I'm on a new line, so that's good. Let's go over here and try this. Okay, so now it looks like it's working. Sweet. So that's essentially exactly what I wanted to happen. So you're going to end up with some blanks because it's going to, like right here, this is just happening because somebody else submitted a message and it showed up there. Might be interesting to actually, it might be interesting if we could just print on that line so that we get a continuous flow of messages. Let me see about that. So when I broadcast, what am I doing on the broadcast? So what if I just go ahead and print that there? Let me try this. This could be kind of cool. This is going to be a long video. So we'll clear this. Whatever happens here, I'm going to stop because this is getting way too long. So Steven, and then we'll do Jim Bob. And so now let's just say hello. And then over here, this, oh, that's great. So it just kind of pops straight into place. So that looks really good. So I'm just going to stop it there, and we'll go ahead and end this episode. So if you made it this far, I just want to say thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. I'm going to be building this out into a more robust actual desktop application. So if you're interested in that, go over to techmaker.tv and register, and a lot of the content will actually be over there. So anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you in the next episode.